first of all, thanks a lot everyone for joining us for this masterclass session today. So before we kickstart today's session, I would like to give you a quick brief about Pragmatic Leaders. So we build Pragmatic Leaders as a bridge for mid-career technology professionals to confidently change career roles. We are on a journey to link training to employment and build holistically better alternatives with current alternatives in specialized technology business roles like product, tech, sales, growth, marketing, etc. We run pay after placement programs in product management for working professionals looking to transition or upskill that are completely online, case study based, and taught by global industry leaders. Our unique approach has resulted in 79% placement success with an average 50% salary hike for our learners. They are now building products for amazing brands like PayPal, Walmart Labs, Amazon, and more. You can check out our programs on our website at www.pragmaticleaders.io. I'll also share a link of our website in the chat section. Let's begin today's session. In today's masterclass, we are going to discuss about building confidence to transition into product management role. I would like to welcome our speakers of today's session. Pamit brings in 16 plus years of experience into product management. Currently, he is working as a director of product and head of marketplace at Ola. He has built some amazing products for Times Group and Shaadi.com previously. With Pamit, we are going to discuss how to overcome barriers of getting into product management role.
Welcome to this 20-minute talk. I'll try and keep it as concise as I possibly can, and hopefully you'll walk away with something. I'm assuming this is a fairly diverse set of people. Most of you, I'm guessing, are from a product background, but and therefore I'm hoping that a lot of what I say will resonate with you. The ones who are not, this is probably a good high-level kind of peek into what at least I think about product management, and I kind of draw a lot from Shreyas Doshi, who's pretty much a product rock star, as well as a couple of others, Marty Kagan and some other product writers and authors. So I'll draw from the ACADS world, but I'll try and make it as contemporary as possible. So I think the topic is about transitioning into product roles. So from that point of view, I think it's important to first understand what product management is. It's a fairly recent kind of a job profile. A lot of the jobs in product actually kind of popped up somewhere around 2008, 2010. In fact, my first role was that of a usage and revenue analyst. So it was not even a product analyst or whatever. It was an UNR analyst in a telecom company after my MBA. So but there were product roles at that time. But it's a fairly recent kind of phenomenon. If at least as far as my memory goes, it didn't exist when I was doing my MBA, or it kind of had just started happening, 2006, 2007, that time. This first slide is actually meant to demonstrate a very simple point. I've tried to use pictures so that things remain in your mind. Visuals are a good tool of imparting gyan. So this is actually the picture of a remote control. I found this meme online, and I thought that we can start with this. And this is often a problem a lot of us face in our product careers, which is that, okay, let me get this feature into this product as well as this feature as well as this feature. And you end up having a remote control which looks something like that. And you're still discussing about whether we can cram in more products. Quickly go to the next slide. More features. The first principle, so what I'll do is I'll spend about 5 minutes on product, and then another 10. I think I have time till 7:30. So what I'll try and do is in 5 minutes, I'll quickly give you a very high level summary of what I think product is and what product is not. And then we will kind of get into, what are the skills required and how you can better prepare yourself to become a product manager. And then maybe I think at the end, Payush, you want to do the questions with the entire panel in the end, right? That's how you're going
to do it. We are going to do it, but if we have certain specific questions, we can take 1 or 2 questions after this session.
We'll try and take 1 or 2. I think I'll try and finish off 7:25. So the first line or the first principle that I can kind of tell at least my teams, Shaadi, Magic Breaks, Ola, I've always told them that product management is not feature building. So the first slide that you saw with the remote control with all those various features and buttons, each button doing something fancy, that's not product management. It often operationally seems that way. Okay, let's build this feature, or let's build this capability or this functionality or this, fancy transition. Let's make it look better. So operationally, to a great extent, it feels that way. But the truth is that if you're really a good product manager, the second image should kind of make some sense to you, where there's this cricket batsman who's kind of leaving the ball. So it's literally about not building features. So it's I'm kind of making a point that not only is it about not building features, it's actually about not building features. So I think the irony is that very few people get this. There's feature requests coming from sales and marketing, and often these feature requests are right, they're needed, but the decision of prioritization lies with the product head. And often you should deprioritize. Invariably, the correct decision is deprioritization. So this is it's difficult to deprioritize because you're typically displeasing somebody in the organization. It is difficult to deprioritize also because the CEO wants it. But depending on the culture of the organization and depending on the job security of the larger product team, you should actually be in a place where you're actually not building features or you're ruling out features. And this actually is a very, very primary kind of a aspect of product management. What is it that you don't want to build? This image of the cricketer leaving the ball should come to your mind whenever you're whenever a sales guy comes to you with a request. Having said that, don't be difficult and just say no. The way to do it is to size the problem and to figure out whether the problem is big enough, and then the effort, and then there are lots and lots of concepts and frameworks available. There's a RISE framework available, which I think today we can't get into, but making an informed decision about why you're leaving a feature is the right way of going about it, because otherwise you'll be displeasing everybody in your organization. The next principle is a very simple, straightforward principle. Everybody should be knowing this. Product manager, we say it, wherever we go, it's a nice sing-song thing. Product is all about solving problems. Increasingly, product is no longer about solving problems, but it's also becoming more and more about preventing problems. So this is a little bit of a new pivot. Probably in the last 2-3 years, a lot of product guys are making. I heard a talk, and I've actually copied this from a talk by Shreyas Doshi only. And he made a very good point, which is that, see, as the products grow older and older, which means that as the products, have critical mass, they have, 1 million plus MAU or DAU kind of usage base. As that happens, you are going to actually invariably be preventing problems rather than solving them. For people who are not from a product background, because I'm told that this is actually a very diverse kind of an audience, a lot of you guys would be not from an. I'll give you a very simple story type of an example. This is, I think, in the 1930s or something, that the British, when they were in India, they had a problem in one of the districts in Himachal, where there was a problem with cobras. I don't know if you've heard of the cobra effect. And what they did is they decided to incentivize the killing of cobras. There was too many cobras, apparently. The cobra snake had started becoming a big nuisance in that part, those couple of districts in British Indian, North Indian parts of British India. And what they did is they set out an incentive, and they said that you kill a cobra and you win a reward of, I think, 5 rupees or some such number. And within a year, the number of cobras started increasing. In fact, they became 3 times the number or 2 times the number of cobras they were a year ago. So the incentive to kill cobras actually ended up, creating a kind of a false situation, or a spiraling situation, where Indians started now breeding cobras. So they actually started farming cobras and growing them, because they would get a 5 rupee reward every time they would kill it and show it to the government. So you often get into those kinds of problems in product management as well. In fact, a typical company, you will find, especially over a long enough period of time, a company will start creating problems in order for it to solve it. Now, this happens very unconsciously. Obviously, it's not a very conscious call, but what starts happening as products get older and older is that you start creating, in order to solve one problem, you're creating 3 more problems. And therefore, this is a very important paradigm shift in product management that a lot of product leaders are talking about, that it's not just anymore about solving a particular user problem or solving a particular business problem. It's about thinking through about what the long-term effects of that solution will be. So your your solution architecture should be such that it takes into account a long-term kind of an impact. Otherwise, it'll be all Cobra effect. All right. The third aspect of product management is about seeking even the most uncomfortable of truths. What I mean by that is, see, the product people tend to invest technology resources, cost, time, money, effort. A lot of bandwidth goes into making a particular feature or a product or a part of a product or or a user flow, whatever you want to call it. And the uncomfortable truth invariably is that it hasn't worked. But a product guy has to make sure that both he himself as well as the rest of the organization have sought it out as to whether that has worked, whether that has delivered the kind of impact, or whether it's been a simple waste of time. A good product manager, in fact, a great product manager will not just seek the truth, but also try and abstract learnings from that in a way that future product building can be done. So again, it's a very high level, I'm limited by time and therefore I don't want to get into specific examples, but it's a skill set that comes from a personality type. You have to be very humble in order to be a good product manager. Because if you're not humble enough, you will actually try to be defensive about what you've built and try to make the business case look a little different from what it is. So don't do that. It's a harmful way. It's not just, I'm not speaking from a nobility point of view. I'm speaking from a learnings point of view, organizational capability point of view, that you need to be seeking the truth. So this is a third principle that I believe very strongly in. Now, another frequent worry is, what is it? Is it a technical role? Product management, do you need to be? This is something that is a lot of the people who are transitioning will ask typically, and I'm sure we'll talk about it. But this Joey and Phoebe situation came to my mind, so I put it up there. Where Phoebe is literally saying the test cases failed, and she makes Joey repeat it. The test cases failed, and then when she says it all together, this guy says my next release is production ready, which means he simply refuses to understand that the test cases have failed and that he's ready to go live. I found this meme cute, and I thought that let me bring in a little bit of humor. But the truth is that product management is not a technical role. Now, this is very debatable, by the way. A lot of organizations have these very funny designations. They have technical product manager, they have technology product manager, and they have reasons for that, I'm sure. But in the purest sense of the term, the classical sense of the term, a product management role is a generalist role with the ability to understand technology and guide technology teams and win them over. And winning them over doesn't mean that you have to be a better techie than them or understand solution architecture better or any of that sort. Of course, you should be able to have a conversation with them, which means you'll have to build some basics in tech. But you have to actually be a business-minded thinker. Now, that unfortunately is a very untangible kind of a thing that I'm saying, right? You have to be business, you have to be smart. I mean, who's going to judge whether you're smart or consumer savvy or not? And therefore, what tends to happen in the practice is that people say that, no, I at least should know technology. Knowing technology, of course, is always an advantage. But there are CEOs. In fact, one of my former CEOs, I can even quote him. He often told me, Anupam from ex-Shaadi, he told me that if a person is too technologically smart, I don't want him as a product manager because he's thinking in terms of technology and he's not thinking in terms of consumer. Again, debatable, but a very good debate to have. Whether it is a technology role or not. My school of thought and my upbringing, since most of my upbringing has been in consumer product companies, is that it is a generalist role. However, my thesis is untrue in certain cases. For example, if the nature of the product itself is technical, for example, browser stack. Right, I have a friend working there, and he was mentioning, boss, I have to know technology. We are doing QA automation. Our proposition itself is. It's a technology proposition. Our consumers are technical. Software developers are the ones who are buying our products. So in that case, obviously, the extent to which you need to know technology is a lot more. But consumer products like Ola, where I'm currently, or Magic Breaks, or ex-Shaadi, Swiggy, Netflix, all of these, they typically prefer people with a very good understanding of the consumer and an ability to understand that particular market and understand how users behave in that market. And that comes with a little bit with experience, to be candid. It also comes with a little bit of a natural inclination towards finding out truths, towards analyzing data and all of that. So this is another important thing to know before you're setting out your career. I've also used a little bit of brash language. It's not a mini CEO role. That's bullshit, because CEO is a powerful kind of an alpha position. I've put this image here where product guys who actually work in product will PM trying to add a story into the sprint after it has started. अगर CEO होता तो वो इतना ध्यान से नहीं देख रहा होता. अगर CEO होता तो वो सीधा बोल देता बस कर दो. Product manager is actually the opposite of a mini CEO. He's got all the responsibility, in fact, a lot of the responsibility of running that particular piece of the product, but he does not have the authority. So to a great extent, he is managing people, he's managing egos and all of that. So you need to also be very good, very smart people's person with a smile on your face, often willing to take, no from tech. You should know when to take a no. So all these things are skills you'll develop over time. Nobody's going to be in a position to kind of tell you whether you're going to be good at that or not. But you will learn, and the general ability to negotiate is going to be very useful. So again, that's why I keep insisting it's a generalist role. While there are others who, of course, disagree with me on that particular one. But PM trying to add a story after the sprint is added, just like that image shows you. Had he been a CEO, he would have just added it. So CEO is a misnomer. It doesn't fit into what I believe is actually part of being a product manager. Another thing with product is that the tendency is that data, everybody tries to be a hero with their data. Data engineering and data analytics has come a long way. It usually tells you a lot of good stuff. It also usually, in fact, I would say 7 times out of 10, at least in my consumer product career, it tells you nothing. So, which is why I've made this little bit of a thing. Again, I think borrowed it from somewhere. It's not originally mine. Data is not information. Information is not intelligence. Intelligence is not actionable insight, and actionable insight is not innovation. Often, because you've got some data proving something, that does not mean that you're up to some next disruptive idea. There are some very decent courses on how to analyze data. I would recommend you pick any of them. Data analysis does not have to be a very overly complicated job. You typically can use spreadsheets to do a simple analysis, and so long as you're asking yourself the right questions and you're keeping the answers truthful, whatever information you seek from your data, you should be able to get that. So one thing, however, I will say, while I've said all of this about data, I've almost played down data. A product manager cannot survive with this without the ability to crunch data, or without the ability to be friendly with data. So Microsoft Excel becomes the best friend for most PMs. A lot of people actually use certain advanced software like Jump and all, but I pretty much managed my career with Excel, and so it's usually good enough so long as you can write SQL queries into the DB. Now, again, the ones who are from a non-techie background, actually you're not even supposed to be able to write a SQL query. That's just the mechanics of how you work. So even if, but sometimes these things become important. Writing SQL is not very difficult. It's usually, if you're smart enough, you should learn how to write a basic query into a SQL table, just with a 2-day kind of just looking up the internet, certain syntax. It's like writing into a language. But the truth is that this is just the mechanics of how you do data extraction. The job is not to be, one thing I've seen a lot with the PMs, and this irritates me with the product managers a lot, is that they kind of show this ability of their ability to write nice inner joins and complicated data queries and all. Increasingly with certain advanced BI tools getting available, this competitive advantage will go away. So while a lot of PMs have enjoyed an advantage within the organization just because they could write the queries, this particular thing will go away, because it will become increasingly, at least in the mid to large organizations, it will become easy to extract data. Data extraction is not a skill. Data analysis and insight is a skill. So that's again very important for you to understand. Often data extraction pe log aake impress ho jate hain that this guy can write a SQL query, and that's a false positive. There are certain other things about product management rules. There are certain rituals, backlogs, metrics, dashboards, sprints. All of these things are just tools. These are all very, very, jargon kind of things associated with management of a product. There are means to the goal. They are not the goal itself. So, it's very important not to get kind of carried away with these terms. If you're joining a product company and you hear this a lot, that okay, I'm in a sprint review and all of that. It will probably take you a month to understand what these rituals are and what all of this is. The end goal is usually to influence, either influence user CSAT or NPS, or it is actually to create a revenue impact. So the metrics that actually matter are just very few. The remaining of the metrics, while they're not vanity metrics, they are still important, but they're usually rituals around the real big story. You don't want to get too carried away with all that nonsense. It's a little overdone in the world of product. Another one with which I observe a lot and I get annoyed is that the PMs tend to create. So this is again human, whatever. It's human survival instinct. The older product managers will tend to create a fence around around themselves, which will make it harder for the newer product managers. It kind of depends on the culture of the organization, but product leaders need to be very. If there are any product leaders here, I'm sure they'll agree that you need to be very careful about not allowing that inside your team, where you're creating a fence, you're speaking in jargon just for the sake of the junior guys who've just come into the system, and so that they don't understand. That needs to be strictly avoided. Speak in simple Hindi, English, whatever language people in the group can understand, and that's good enough. If anyone's doing that too much, you should know that they're just being a jerk. All right, but this last one is quite straightforward. The job is that of understanding your user or customer. Easier said than done. I like this Pulp Fiction kind of thing that I picked up, that I dare you to not speak to customers. You have to speak to your customers at least five to 7 times a month. I would say at least speak to 5 to 7 a month. In the beginning, I would say speak to at least 50 a month. So whether you can do that or not, how you do that is a little more, it depends on whether you have their phone numbers and all that, but speak to as many customers as you can. That does give you, it's a softer part of product management, but it does give you, so this girl is saying, how vague is that? I mean, speaking to customers and understanding customers, what kind of a job is this? But this is in order for you to get the advantage in the company. Or with respect to the product, that you really know what you're talking about. If you can, with a certain amount of confidence, represent the customer within the company, you usually make very logical points which will get accepted if your leadership team is capable of valuing what you're bringing to the table. So there is a certain amount of what you call vagueness. Unlike a pure technology role where the flowcharts are drawn and the technical flow diagrams are ready, and all you have to do is now figure out how to code it. A product role is a lot more vague. It's a lot more ambiguous. So you have to get comfortable. If somebody asks you, okay, this is a payment page, tell me how you're going to make the revenue better from this payment page. It's just one page now. Influence this, consumers in a way that on this page, whoever lands on this page now gives you more revenue. It's a very vague question, if you ask me, and therefore the answers are never exact. There's no correct answer for this. So I think that's it. I'm again leaving you with Shreya. She's a good person to follow on Twitter. I don't, by the way, he doesn't sponsor me or anything. I just happen to be a big fan of the guy. He's very, very enterprising. Indian fellows made it big in the US. But I like this, because it's vague. It's important to keep getting a little bit of vague gyan sometimes. So this fellow says a sensible null hypothesis for consumer products. And I'll read this out for you guys very quickly. A null hypothesis is that the user doesn't care about your product. A user doesn't have time to use it. A user doesn't understand the purpose of your product. The user will skip any onboarding tutorials. He won't read your UI copy. He will forget about what you've written after signing up or installing it. So imagine, I mean, there is such a lot of inertia against your product. And he's telling you that assume that there is a lot of inertia against your product, and that's given that null hypothesis, build a product that people like. There's some good books. There's a book called Hooked, which many of you may have read, Neera Ayal. That kind of gives you some frameworks which help you think, right? These are all these books just help you get your thoughts together. They're not going to give you specific ideas, but the GAN helps. It's not necessarily bad. Okay, so 7:30 ho gaya. I think that's it. I had only till 7:30. If that's it from me, guys, I think that's my last slide, I hope. Yeah, that's it.